Okay, so just to summarize what we did in the previous tutorial, we were essentially trying to get data from the DataMuse API. Okay, the DataMuse API, this one particular service it offers is we're going to send it to it a word, and it'll give us synonyms of that word. Okay, and it presents these synonyms as an array of JSON objects, each of them containing a word, some numerical thing called a score, and also an array of strings called tags. And those array of strings can have values such as, adverb, adjective, verb, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's what we do. So in order to have access to that, what we did, we generated a service, okay, in npm. Okay, we did the ng generate service command, which we call data service. Now, in this data service, we injected it with the HTTP client functionality. So we inject it, so in its own constructor we put in an HTTP client and initialize an object called _HTTP, which will be a kind of singleton used to just basically read stuff. We established the stem of the web service that we're going to be using, the URL stem. And then we created a function where it allows somebody to append a string, which will be a word, to this URL of the web service, and then after that it'll run the HTTP object, and it'll try to get whatever is being delivered by that web service. Okay, so that's our data service. Now, what we do to the returns from this service, and we get it into our own data structure. First of all, we established a data structure characterized by a class called dmWord, and each of these has a property called a word, which is a string, a score, a number, and tags, an array of strings, which is exactly the same as what is returned in the JSON from the web service. Okay, then in our component, which kind of sits essentially behind our visual interface, we inject this with our own service. So there's data service. So if you like, the HTTP just reads generically from any website. Our own data service reads one specific function from the this specific DataMuse service, and we say to, now here's the kind of thing that you have to write down a few times before you get it. I mean, I don't particularly find it even comfortable trying to describe really what we're doing here, but anyway, what we do is, so I've got data service, I'm putting a parameter in there, I want to find synonyms of the word fast. Then we have this subscribe, and in the subscribe you put in a it's essentially, this is an arrow function, okay, with one which is going to have this object data, which is an array of DM words, as being, if you like, the bucket, the thing into which where the data from the web service is being put. Okay, so you imagine, so all this data is coming from the web service being put into this bucket of an array of DM words, and then what we're doing is we're taking this array of DM words, which is called data, and we're just going through all of it. Using this arrow function here, we're just extracting the word from each of them rather than getting in the scores and the tags and everything. All we do is create the words, and therefore we've got a thing called rhymes to show. And in the last example, all we did was in the console, we printed out rhymes to show. Okay, well, of course, as from the previous tutorials in the previous chapter, we can easily display this in our HTML page. So let's go to the HTML, and we're going to here put in, oh, wait a minute, hang on a minute, put in a div, and inside the div we're going to put in a span, and we're going to iterate over this array called rhyme show. So we do our ng for equals let x of rhymes to show. I think that's what it's called. I guess we'll end our span there, and then here we can just put in x, which is going to be each individual one of this loop. Okay, so we're going to print out x for each one of those, and we'll maybe put in a space there. I'm not sure that'll actually work actually. So if, I'll put a pipe in there that'll do it for now. Not very good, but it'll work. Oh no, it should be going inside. Sorry. Actually, I'll just put a space there. Actually, that should do it. Okay, so we do that, and now let's see if that will work. So let's press get synonyms now, and it's appeared. It doesn't look particularly nice. But anyway, as you see there, we can print out all of the synonyms into the page. But what would be nicer would be if we had a text box which would be used as the source of the synonyms we want to find. So instead of it just always being a fast, let's put in a text box so the user can type in their own synonyms. Now again, revising, you remember that we have the ng model, which we can use as to be some variable which completely shadows a particular in user interface components. So whatever is the value, whatever anybody's put into that component will get immediately kind of be synchronized with a particular variable in the TypeScript class behind the interface. So let's now to do that we'll need to create a form. So this button currently is we put it inside now a form. Let me just put the form at the end here, because we're going to be using the ng model, and for that we need these form features. So we put input, and now we've got our square bracket, open ordinary bracket, ng model. Equals, now this will be the variable, so let's call it something like a current word query. I should have established that first of all inside the TypeScript file, the TS file, but anyway, let me call this name equals something like textbox TB query. Say I'm not sure that's hugely important at this moment. Okay, but anyway, so we've got this variable here that this is going to be synchronized to, so we need to create that variable inside the TypeScript file. So it's going to app.component.ts. So here we've got rhymes to show, and then we're going to have something like current word query, which equals nothing at the start. Okay, and then what we would probably want is DM get synonyms instead of kind of like being always looking at fast. We're going to get it to show the current word query. So let's kind of put that in there. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's going to be now, because it's now, that's where it's declared, but when you want to use it, you have to type in this dot get current word, this current word query. Okay, so I've got a feeling that is probably enough to be going on with, and we don't need this console log anymore. Okay, so let's do that, and let's save it. File, save all, and now if we go to our page here, let's refresh it. Something's gone wrong because it's not showing, so I need to go into the developer tools, and in the console, ng model is no property of input. Yes, now this is an error message that you get whenever you fail to put the forms in the module app module.ts. So although it doesn't really tell you that in the JavaScript console, so let's go back. Let's go into the app module.ts. I always forget to do the things you need to do here. So after, in the imports, we're going to import also the forms module, because that's what we're using. You have to use that whenever you're using the ng model directive. So import squiggly bracket forms module, and that is going to be from at Angular/forms. Okay, that's done. That's fine. It's got the slightly grayed out in Visual Studio Code because we haven't actually added it, and now we need to do this inside the imports. And so forms here, module actually should be module. There it is. Okay, let's do that. Let's save it. Everything's saved. Let's have a look again inside, and now it seems to be okay. So let's try it with our usual one, fast, yes, and let's say another one. Let's say error. mistake, misplay, false, wrongdoing, erroneous, belief, erroneous. Let's say drunk, intoxicated, inebriated, drunken, tipsy, blotto, drugged, sozzle, boozing. So therefore, it's now we have a fully operating thesaurus in Angular. The next thing we need to do is to maybe make this display or the words a little bit different, because, as I said, what I would want to do is kind of link up the web service of a thesaurus, namely finding synonyms, with another one whereby I could click on any of the synonyms and then see all possible rhymes of any of those synonyms. So that's the next task.